At the time when I met him, I was, of course, very much in love. I was also very naive because it was my first ever relationship. I didn't know anything about anything. I was coming out of an all-girl schools, so I didn't have much experience into what is it that you do and how you behave in a relationship. Didn't have boyfriends before. So I met this gentleman, and I thought that with him, I could build the family that I was craving for and belong at last, eventually. And when he came to me, he was someone with such convictions and very clear ideas about what was right, what was wrong. It's very appealing when you're someone who doesn't know who she is yet. Again, I was quite young, very naive. And for me, my vision of religion was very secular. I could not appreciate that people could take any religious text literally, to the point where it's in all the minute detail, it is absolutely true, because I never asked myself those questions up until then. And so I was promised that, nothing had to change, that he was very tolerant of, me being Jewish, that it wouldn't matter because Islam allowed it.
He was a Sunni Muslim from Yemen.
Sunni Muslim, yes. My side, I was very much aware of the fact that I wasn't supposed to. But then again, I was thinking my kids will automatically be Jewish anyway, so what does it matter? And again, at 18, you don't ask yourself those questions. You don't actually project yourself into the future enough to understand that actually Islam and Judaism don't necessarily marry well for many different reasons. And this is my experience. I mean, I'm not here to say that it's a bad idea for everybody. And I'm sure that people may have very happy lives doing so. It wasn't my experience. My experience was quite brutal. So I married him.
Why was it brutal?
Oh, because I was bullied to an inch of my life, quite literally. I suffered violence that I don't want to get into. And mentally, I would say beaten to almost an inch of my life, in that I was asked to deny who I was. They asked me to be disappeared. Literally, they wanted me to stop being who I was.
Your husband did?
Mm-hmm. And his family.
And you put that at the feet of Islam?
Yes, absolutely. And at least the interpretation that they made of it. And I'm not interested in people defending, the faith in that. I'm talking about my personal experience. And if people want to apologize, whatever it is that happened to me, saying that it's not the norm, that's fine. They can do that if they want. But it's my prerogative to be telling my story, my experience. And the image that I was given and shown and lived through of Islam wasn't a pretty one. Sunni or Shia, by the way. You have some beauty in it somewhere, because of course they have taken quite a great deal from Judaism. You could argue too from Christianity in certain, the way that they talk about redemption and compassion and kindness and charity and all those beautiful sentiments. But in practice, I found that it's a faith that asks of people to be profoundly intolerant. They are very critical of critical thinking, which makes no sense to me. You're not allowed to question. You're not allowed to change your mind. You're not allowed as a woman to have a thought that is independent from that of your husband or your family. You have to be a good girl, sit down and bake cookies all day, which is not necessarily my idea of a happy life. It may well be for some women, but it wasn't mine. And so I was asked to fit into a box that was made for me by people who thought they could speak for me.
Did this happen as soon as you married your ex-husband? No. So there was a gradual thing.
Yes.
So initially at the beginning you were swept in the romance of it all.
And all was well. I mean, we had a few years where everything was wonderful. And right around the time where I had my daughter, everything changed. I'm not quite sure why. We were in Yemen at the time. And there was a refusal on my part. So the story went that when we decided to go to Yemen the first time to, introduce my son to his family, that, I should tell if anyone asked, because he was quite ashamed of the fact that I was Jewish and didn't want to have that conversation with people. And so he told everyone. I mean, people did not ask the question. They just assumed that, I must have come from a Christian background. Because all they had was, oh, she's French, met her in the UK. People didn't ask question, and I married a Muslim. That's all they knew. And they have a very interesting vision is that if it had been the other way around, I think that a lot of questions would have been asked as to like where I came from and who I was, all this. But because I was a woman and he was a man, it did not matter. All they saw is that, oh, he married a passport.
Mm-hmm.
And they were quite proud of the fact that, oh, he married someone with a foreign passport, French passport, who had access to the UK. Therefore, he was golden. That's all they saw. And so no question was asked, which, to be quite frank with you, kind of worked out for me very well.
So had access to France rather than the UK.
Well, yes, but because back then Brexit had not happened, and so that meant that he could come back and forth to the UK quite easily. So there was no issue there. And for them in Yemen and for much of the Arab world, it's a golden ticket.
Yeah. So you moved to Yemen in what year?
Oh, I can't remember. It was 2004.
And you were a very young woman at that point.
Yes, still. Yeah.
Still very young.
I'm not that old anyway. But yeah.
But very young then.
I was very young, yeah.
Because you'd only been married at 18. And then this relationship, you were increasingly negative with your in-laws.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect your relationship with your own heritage? Because you described your Judaism as being something, you're secular and it's not a huge, it's kind of there, but it's not a huge influence, but it's somewhat of an influence. Does this change your relationship?
Absolutely. It's quite interesting because I went through different phases where initially, it was, I had a period where I kind of lost myself for a second. In that, when you're being berated systematically every single day, every day, every time you open the news, and of course they watch Al Jazeera, which is a fantastic news channel. I'm being very sarcastic, of course. And, Israel is mentioned in evil terms. I mean, day and night, 24/7, all day, every day, on Christmas, often twice. You come to hate yourself and beg them to stop. But in my head, I was like, please, just get up the news. Because every time that you do something, I pay the price at home. And I don't know you, as in like, there's nothing in my life right now that is related to you or even feel a connection to, in the sense that it was talking about what was going on in Gaza or in Judea and Samaria or, whichever prime minister at the time was doing whatever. And for me, not being Israeli, I could not understand why I was being blamed for it. And so part of me...
But who was blaming you? Your in-laws?
My in-laws, everybody. I mean, those who knew.
So they all knew you were Jewish?
No. Only his very close family. So we're talking his mother, his stepfather, because his dad had passed away when he was quite young. His mother had remarried, sister, brother, and I would say their spouses. So it was a very close-knit family. But at the same time, they were all at the same time on my case. All the time. And they literally lived in my house almost because they were coming every day, spending, hours and hours on end where I would get bashed. Because they watched TV and they talked and had coffee and it was systematically, oh, you did this. And I'm like, no, I did not do anything because I'm sitting right here. I'm not in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem. I don't make decision, at least not government state decision, because I'm right here in Yemen. How can you possibly blame me for what is going on? They were blaming me for things that quite often cleric on Friday would conjure up, claiming that Israel had done X, Y, Z. And then they used to come home to me telling me, oh, why X, Y, Z? I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't know what is going on. Back then, I had no idea. And I didn't want to know.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Winston Marshall Show. You can click here to watch the full episode. And for more clips like this one, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, be well.